students, welcome to the next lecture of the first chapter, Herbs as Raw Material. Today we shall discuss about factors affecting cultivation and good in agricultural and collection practices. I am Dr. Kuman Madan, Associate Professor, Lloyd Institute of Management and Technology. Cultivation of herbs. Here we are going to study the cultivation of medicinal plants, what care and management does it require, what environment does it need, what is the type of the soil, irrigation, pest control. We also need to have that scientific document where the method should be followed. If no such data is available, in that case the traditional method should be adopted and a systematic method should be developed through the research. Good agricultural practices and conservation agriculture improves, conserve and make more efficient use of natural resources. That's why we need to focus on these practices stringently. Factors affecting cultivation includes altitude, temperature and humidity, rainfall or irrigation, soil and its fertility, fertilizers, pest and pest control and plant hormones. We will discuss all these factors one by one. Altitude or the height. This is the most important factor, at which height the plant is growing. The increase in altitude decreases the temperature and the atmospheric pressure. As we go to the higher altitude, there is the fall in the temperature as well as atmospheric pressure, which is going to affect the plant quality. The increase in altitude increase with the wind velocity, relative humidity and light intensity. Changed climatic conditions with height produce change in the vegetative pattern. So, we are going to have different variety of the same plant which is grown at a high height or a low height. Say for example, cinchona, tea and eucalyptus, they are cultivated favorably at a higher height, that is the height of 1000 to 2000 meters. They cannot be grown at the low height. Cinnamon and cardamom are again grown at a height of 1000 meter. Senna can be cultivated at sea level. Another factor is temperature and humidity. These are also very important factors for the growth of the plant. The rate of photosynthesis is affected by the change in the temperature and hence it is going to affect the growth of the plant. The rate of respiration increases with the increase in the temperature. Besides that, humidity affects the structure, the form and the transpiration in the plant. Any sudden decrease in the temperature causes the formation of the ice crystals in the intercellular spaces of the plant, which is not desirable. Water comes to the plant's cell and hence the plant die. Some examples are given where the plants have been destructed because of this. Say, camphor and coffee cannot withstand the frost. They will die in this region. Saffron requires a cold climate. You cannot grow saffron or the kesar at the hot temperature, while pyrethrum needs dry weather. So, every plant has their own conditions of the growth, their own environmental conditions, their own weather conditions which have to be taken care of. Rainfall. This is another important factor. We know that plants need water for their growth. So, plants need water for the proper irrigation and normally this happens to be with the help of the natural source, that is the rainfall. Rainwater is the main source to provide irrigation to the plants. Rainfall and snowfall affect the climatic conditions as well. The minerals in the soil get dissolved in water and are then absorbed by plants. Water influence morphological and physiology of plant. Continuous rain can lead to loss of water soluble substances from the leaves and the root by leaching. So, even higher rainfall is not required. We just need the optimum content of the rain. Soil. We know that there exist different types of soil in the different regions. They have their different fertility conditions. Every soil is not that fertile. Every soil does not have the same particle size. Every soil does not have the same air capacity holding pores. So, different soil also affect the growth of the plant, and likewise plants require different soil for their growth, and they are specific to it. Let us study this. Soil supports the growth of all plants because all the nutrients which plant require for its growth, they come through the soil. It provides mechanical strength, anchorage as well as the essential plant food elements for the plant. Soil fertility is basically the capacity of the soil to supply plant nutrient quantities and the proportion which is required. If we keep growing plant in the same soil again and again, there will be depletion of nutrients. So, we have to provide the nutrient to that soil in the form of the manure or the fertilizers. Soil provides chemical makeup and nutrients for the growth. Soil has the shallow upper layer, which is a friable material in which plant find the foothold and the nourishment. There is also the clay which is present in the soil. This clay consists of the finest particle which provides cohesive and adhesive properties. Further, in the next slides, we shall also classify the soil depending upon their clay content. Soil consists of the mineral matter, air, water and organic matter. Air and water give rise to pores. If half of the pores are filled with the water and the rest with the air, so that provides the good aeration for the root nourishment. Besides that, purified and decayed plant and animal parts constitutes the organic matter. We can also grade the soil depending upon their organic matter into three categories. Number one is the poor soil. This is a soil which contain less than 0.5% of the organic matter. Rich soil contains 1.5 to 5% of the organic matter, and obviously the intermediate is the one which contains 0.5 to 1.5% organic matter. Besides that, the soil has a particular pH for the growth of the plant. This optimum pH level is 6.5 to 7.5. If the pH varies, that can affect the growth of the plant. For example, acidic soils are not suitable for leguminous plants due to poor development of the nodule bacteria. We can classify the soil depending upon their mineral matter content. The different types are clay soil, which has not more than 50% of the clay, loamy soil which is having 30 to 50% with clay, silt loamy soil which is having 20 to 30% of the clay, sandy loamy soil which has 10 to 20% of the clay, sandy soil which has more than 70% of the sand, and calcareous soil which is having more than 20% of the lime. These are the different categories depending upon their mineral content of the soil. Besides that, depending upon the particle size, the soil can also be classified as coarse clay having the particle size less than 0.002 millimeter, fine clay which is having the particle size ranging from 0.002 to 0.02 millimeter, coarse sand which is having the particle size from 0.02 to 0.2 millimeter, fine sand which is having the particle size of 0.2 to 2 millimeter with the highest particle size. Soil fertility. Now, whether the soil is fertile or not, that depends that it is going to provide enough nutrition to the plants for its growth. A soil has to be fertile. Now, what is soil fertility actually? The soil fertility is capacity of the soil to provide nutrients in adequate and in balanced proportion. Like all nutrients should be there, and that too in the required proportion. If cropping is done without fortification of the soil with plant nutrients, soil fertility gets lost. That is what I told you earlier. If we grow the plant in the same soil again and again, the nutrients of the soil are lost. So we need to fortify the soil. We need to supplement the soil with the nutrients in the form of the fertilizers and the manures. Soil fertility can be maintained by the addition of animal manures, nitrogen fixing bacteria, or by application of the chemical fertilizers. Now, what is fertilizer? Fertilizer is basically chemical. It is an artificial in nature. It is a material of natural or synthetic origin to supply one or more nutrients to the growth of the plant. It contains the essential elements which are required for the plant growth and maintenance. It contains nutrients necessary for the development and growth of the plant. It modifies water retention and the aeration of the soil as well. Manure. Manure are the material which are mixed with the soil and which supply almost all the nutrients and increase the crop productivity. Manure can be of three types basically. Farmyard manure, which consists of the cow dung manure or the poultry manure, that is the waste or the excreta of the cows and the poultry animals. Composited manure, which consists of organic nitrogen supplements such as bone meal and fish meal, and green manure, which is consisting of the plants itself, say neem seed cake and vermicompost and oil cake. Besides that, there is a new terminology which is used and which is being exploited and which is very good enough, that is biofertilizer these days. Biofertilizers are biologically active products of the bacteria, algae and fungi which are useful in bringing about soil nutrition such as Rhizobium, Azotobacter and Azolla species. Now we shall study the different type of nutrients which a plant require. They can be categorized into three broad categories. One is the major nutrients, that is of the NPK, nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium. Then we have secondary nutrients which consist of calcium, magnesium and sulfur. Besides that, plant also require micronutrient for certain enzymatic activity. These are boron, chlorine, copper, iron, manganese, molybdenum and zinc. Pest. Now another factor which we need to take care in the plant is the pest control. We cannot allow the pest to grow in the plant. So what is pest actually? There's something undesirable. It is an organism that causes an epidemic disease associated with the high mortality. It leads to the plant senescence or the death. Types of pests include, say, microbes, which can be fungi and virus. Fungi and virus, they can attack the plant, so they are the pest for the plant. Insects, including flying moth, larvae, crawling beetles, weevils, cockroaches, which generally eat the plant and they are fed on it, so they are also a pest. Rodent, mice and rat, they are often seen in the field. They are also the pest which are infesting the yield or the crop yield. Then birds, pigeons and crows, we have seen the scarecrows in the farms and the villages there, so that these do not come. Then animals such as snakes, cats, dogs, they can also harm the plants. We need to have the pest control. We cannot allow them. So there are various methods of the pest control. Basically, these are mechanical methods which employs the manual labor along with different devices for collection and the destruction of the pest, hand picking to remove the insects, pruning burning and trapping of waste that is being done by the human beings and the workers and the laborers which are engaged in the farms. Then we have agricultural methods. This basically involves advanced plant breeding techniques which are capable of inducing genetic manipulation, resulting in production of the hybrid varieties which are resistant to fungal and bacterial attack. By hybridization, you have come across one such variety which are resistant to the attacks by the fungus or the bacteria. Third way is the chemical method of the pest control. Now, this method involves where the pests are controlled by using the chemical pesticides. However, their limit of the chemical pesticides which should be used, it has to be limited because it can be harmful for the human consumption. Another method is the biological control method which is being exploited these days. This method is practiced by combating the pest, mostly the insects. Here, the chemical substances are produced and released by some female insects which are capable to produce a sexual response from the opposite sex, which could be exploited for the biological control of the pest. These are sex pheromones basically, and the example includes 7,8-epoxy 2-methyl octadecane from the gyps moth. Another natural pest control methods includes use of the tobacco, Nux vomica and the neem. Now, let us study about the plant hormones. Plant hormones are of the different types. These are essential for the growth of the plant. Plant hormones are basically synthetic organic compounds which we supply to the plant. It modifies the growth and development either by promoting or inhibiting the growth. Now, the major classes of the plant hormones include auxins. These are used for the cell elongation, gibberellins, which does the purpose of the cell elongation along with the cell division, cytokinins, which help in the cell division and inhibit the senescence, abscisic acid, which causes the abscission of the leaves and the fruits, ethylene, which promotes senescence and the fruit ripening. Now, we need to study the good agriculture and collection practices for the medicinal plants. These are the set of the guidelines which have been developed by World Health Organization in the year 2003. These guidelines have been given to ensure the quality of herbal medicines and ecologically sound cultivate practices. This is basically given to contribute to the quality assurance of the medicinal plants, to improve the quality, safety and efficacy of the finished herbal products, to guide the formulation of the national or regional practices on the monographs, and to encourage the support and sustainable cultivation and collection of the medicinal plants of the good quality. These agriculture and collection practices must be followed, and these include selection of applicable site or cultivation. First, we have to choose the site where we need to cultivate the plant. Then we have to screen the proper variety for which we are going for. We have to select the time of the cultivation. We have to follow organic farming, possibly inhibiting the use of the chemicals. We have to take the precaution while pruning and collecting desired plant part. We have to use the proper equipment for cutting, shearing and peeling, and we have to go for the drying immediately after the collection. We have to remove the dust and undesirable matter, that is garbling. Further, continuing with these good agricultural practices, we have defined guidelines for the different plant parts. We shall study one by one here. So, let us study good agriculture collection practices for cultivation and the harvesting of the plants. These good agriculture collection practices are specific to the different part of the plants. Say for the overground part such as leaves, flowers and seeds, we need to take care of certain guidelines. Number one, that we have to harvest only the mature part. Suppose if we have to have the plant for which we are going to take up the either the leaf or the flower, so this is the overgrown part, we have to take care that the plant has been in the mature state. We do not have to collect all parts at a time. If we are to focus over the leaf, we have to get the leaf only. If we are to focus over the stem, then we don't have to pluck the leaves. We can have just the stem. If we want to have the flowers, we can pluck just only the flowers and not the leaves, not the stem. We need not to cut branches for the leaves and the flowers. The entire branch should not be devastated. We can just simply pluck the leaves or the stamen or the flowers or the fruit, whatever we require, but we need not to uproot the branch. Then we have to take care that the fresh flowers are preferably dried in the shade. Flowers are generally cultivated and collected because of their aroma, their volatile oil. Now, these volatile oils are lost when exposed to the high temperature. So, we have to ensure that whenever we go for the drying of the flowers, we have to go for the expression of the flowers on the beds in the shade and not in the sun. Another thing which need to take care is parts like stigma, anther and buds to be collected at this specific time. Say for example, the drug called Kesar, or which is having the name of saffron. This is basically the stigma of the flower. It is like somewhat like this, that this is the petal of the flowers and this stigma we have to collect. So, we have to make ensure that we collect in the period when the flower is completely grown and the stigma can be extracted. Similarly, we have the good agriculture collection practices for the plant part which is beneath the soil, which is under the soil. So, for that we need to take care is that we have to collect after the seed are shed to facilitate regeneration. If we have to deroot the plant, say for example, I need the root of this plant. If I am going to deroot it, it is going to destroy the whole plant. So, what I need to do is, I have to ensure that the seeds, the pollination of that plant has already been done so that the seed can regenerate further and then I can uproot or destroy this. I have to take care that I have to do the least digging. बहुत ज़्यादा नहीं खोदना है, जितनी डेप्थ तक आपको रूट मिल जाएगी बस उतना ही आपको डिगिंग करना है सॉइल में. Another practice which you need to take care is that you have to collect when the mother plant is fully grown. Once you know that the mother plant is fully grown and capable to give or the germinate to another plant with the help of seed which are there in the fruit, you can uproot the root or the underground part of the plant, or say such as bark and whole plants are also collected when the plant is completely grown. So, these are some of the good agriculture cultivation practices which are given by World Health Organization and which need to be taken care and followed. These guidelines have to be followed. That's all for the lecture today, students. Thank you.